Sheila Gunn Reid for Rebel News, and I'm just wrapping up my 4th week here attending Sunday services at GraceLife Church west of Edmonton. Now, for those of you who have been following along, you already know GraceLife Pastor James Coates has been held as a prisoner of conscience in provincial custody since February 16th when he turned himself in for breaking a provincial health order. Now, that order was to limit his church to 15% of fire code capacity and force the congregation to wear masks during worship services. As it sits right now, Pastor Coates will remain in the maximum security Edmonton Remand Center until his trial, May 3rd to 5th, 2021. You see, Pastor Coates technically does qualify for bail, but he cannot comply in good conscience with the bail conditions that would limit his church service to 15% of fire code capacity and force the congregation to wear masks. Pastor Coates cannot agree to those bail conditions, so he languishes behind bars. Agreeing to those conditions would violate his faith and the faith of his entire congregation. Now, last Friday, an appeal of those bail conditions was held and then denied. At that bail hearing, Crown Prosecutor Karen Thorsgood remained anonymous, saying that she was simply the public health prosecutor and that she feared for her own safety. A secret prosecutor in Canada, imagine that. Now, once again, I showed up at the church at 5 a.m. on the suspicion that the RCMP may come to change the locks. I suspected this because one of the reasons Crown Prosecutor Karen Thorsgood is insisting on those onerous anti-Christian bail conditions is that she said James Coates, once he is released, will return to preach to a capacity crowd here, and that's just dangerous, she said. Well, the church is at capacity and has been consistently at capacity since the middle of the summer with no cases of COVID, by the way. So the only way to stop this church from being at capacity would be to prevent people from physically coming in the door. But I'm happy to say my early morning stakeout was fruitless once again. Associate Pastor Jake Spence was again on the pulpit. Again, media interest continues to wane. Their bloodlust for seeing Christians taken away in handcuffs has not been satiated. The media showed up once again filming from the ditch. Only one of them were wearing masks, and I did not see a lot of social distancing if you care about that sort of thing, and I definitely don't. Also, in a slight return to normalcy, instead of 7 police cruisers, there were only 2 this week. And those police cruisers left shortly after 10 a.m. as opposed to doing what they normally do, and that's staying for the duration of the day. No tickets were issued here today, and this continues to be not a spectacle, but absolutely normal worship services in the most abnormal of times. I'm no longer filming inside the church because this is their church. It's not my news story, and they have a right to worship without intrusion by journalists like me or the government for that matter. For Rebel News here at GraceLife Church west of Edmonton, where on Tuesday, Pastor Coates will tick over 3 weeks in provincial custody for the crime of saying Christian worship service, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. If you'd like to send a message to the provincial government that you believe in religious liberty, that the government has no place in our churches, and that free and liberal societies do not lock up people for practicing their faith, please sign our petition at freepastorjames.com.